Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Get Crystallized Show. I'm your host, Coach Crystal, and look who we have back! Yay! Kristi is back. I am super excited. Now, if you missed the episode that she was on last week, please go listen to it. It was an mind-blowing, game-changing, inspirational episode where Kristi shared her story and how it evolved and inspired her to create Self Educate You. So, who is Kristi? If you're meeting her for the very, very first time, she is the founder of Self Educate You Shortcutters. It's the smart way to educate. Developed over 3 decades of refining, testing, investment, trial, and error that is now a proven method helping others reach their own shortcut to success in all areas of life, faith, family, and future. And she is also a published author of Overcoming Obstacles, Turning Tragedy into Triumph, a story of her son's recovery from severe autism, which is her first self-education journey discovering to help her son. And I'm really excited because today we're actually going to be sharing, Kristi's going to be sharing keys to make sure your road to better health doesn't turn into induced stress. And when she told me all about this topic, I said, you know what, that makes sense, because the women that we serve in our audience that are listening, although they come to us to get healthy, just the journey alone and adapting new habits and releasing bad habits and trying to learn how to be consistent and learning how to eat properly and exercising consistently, that can also induce stress. So I am really, really excited for today's topic. And now you also have a medical background. I'd love for you to share about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an honor to be back with you. And I just love Coach Crystal, everything that her and her company stands for, everything you're doing to transform lives with R3 is like, it's just so dear to my heart, because it's like, I think we share that same vision for women's lives to be transformed and to be healthy and whole and in a holistic way. So I'm excited to share some tips to your listeners that I think can take what you do, and it's like put a big bubble of protection around it, so that there's nothing that's gonna pop in and cause problems for them moving forward. But yeah, so my background, I actually had a great interest in medicine. I was a ballet dancer, and I had bad knees that I got injury after injury after injury. I ended up in the sports med clinics all the time. And I had a dream and a vision to become a professional ballerina. And I did a lot of company work and everything, but the intensity of productions and my knees were not a good fit. And so hard as I tried, it just, it's just kind of some genetic makeup of my knees. And so I kind of pivoted into teaching, and we started and launched a ballet ministry in 3 states. And it was beautiful. I loved it. Everything about it. It's still going. Actually, one of my students has taken over, and it's wonderful. But that experience, spending so much time in the sports med clinics, got my interest going. So I actually started to study sports med in college until my mom got sick. I had to drop out of college to take care of her. And then I ended up getting married, have 5 children, and I ended up between baby 1 and 2, I got really, really sick, and finally was diagnosed with severe lupus, the SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, I think it's called. It's been so long since I've said it. I used to speak at medical conferences on the journey there to lose all those diagnoses. And of my 5 kids, I lost 3, because when you have an autoimmune issue, a lot of times that can cause your body to have issues in pregnancy. And so unfortunately that happened, and we lost 3 babies. But I had 3 more then. And my first of those second 3 regressed into severe autism. And so when he was 5, I was told to institutionalize him. And that just was a heartbreak for me. So I went on a journey. That's how the whole self-education journey got started, and what I did with my kids, and what we're doing now with SEU. SEUworks.com to find out more about that. But all of that led to me pursuing a PhD in stress-induced illness, and that is kind of how I got from there to here, and I absolutely love what I do.
So you mentioned, when we were talking about what would benefit my audience, and you said, I can share keys to make sure that although they are on this quest for better health, just that quest alone can induce stress. So
Right.
what keys can we share, and can you teach the audience and the listeners right now? Because they're like, yes, I do feel a little bit of anxiety if you're telling me that I need to do this, and this, and I can't do this, and this, and there's already so much on their plate. So when you shared that, I said, you know what, that is like how you described it, a beautiful protective bubble. You're absolutely right. How can they start this journey of wanting to become healthy without that journey itself induce the stress?
Yeah, and that's it exactly. I have to be honest. Most of the things I go really, really deep in my medical research, it's because it's happened to me or my kids, and so I'm having to personally figure out how to journey through this situation. And so that was me with health. I was obviously in ballet. I was always focused on health and wellness and eating. Definitely not healthy in the early years, with so many ballet dancers, anorexia and bulimia become a situation. Thankfully, it was fairly short-lived for me, but it's a common thing. And so our mindset around eating and health and wellness, what we're putting in, why we eat, what we eat, when we eat, all of that is so key and critical. And so I know what you guys do is like transformational. And the reason why we were talking a little bit more deeply about how you get people results is the only way to get results. Like there's so many, like you go out anywhere on the internet and you search health and wellness or somebody that does anything similar to you, and everybody and their brother has their new little cliche diet or fitness or strategy. None of them are going to work unless you do what you guys teach. 100%, hands down, nothing else is going to work. And I'm going to tell you why. And here's the why. Because what we're doing, what we're thinking first is going to impact everything else. So you've
100%.
got to start there. And so what happens is we're really good at like just changing lanes, kind of like if you're driving, you're in this lane and you're like, oh, I want to turn right up there. Okay, I'm going to change lanes so I get ready to turn right. So let's say you've been going along in life and maybe you've gained a few extra pounds or you're not eating healthy, you're not feeling good. And so I'm going to get healthy. Okay, I'm going to go with somebody to get healthy, right? And you change lanes and you're like, okay, what do I have to learn? What do I have to know? And here's where I really had the aha. I realized that most of the marketing, if you look at most people's marketing in health and wellness, there's some really top name people, doctors, fitness gurus that I love. But here's how they market. And most people follow them because it works. It's fear induced.
Yes.
So I want you to think about that. When you read something, hear something, what are the things you shouldn't do? Oh my gosh, fear. I don't want to do what I shouldn't do. Or what are the worst foods to eat? Fear, right? What, and so we have this fear induced. What happens if you don't walk X amount of hours a week? Fear. What about if you don't do, muscle building? Fear, right? So it's fear induced marketing. And why does everybody use it? Because it works, right? We all are motivated by fear. But unfortunately, what fear does, fear is actually worse than anger in our cells. So we have like this, I don't have a whiteboard, but we have like this little thing. And like if that's I don't know if you can see it, that's a cell. We have, the inside, I won't get into all the technical terms, but the inside that holds the cell open looks like a cross. Isn't that cool? I love it. Love it. Love it. And so basically, if you think of your cell kind of like a body, you've got whoopsie, a part where you get your nutrition and I can't do this in the back of, cameras make it so hard. Okay, so you're right there and you're getting all your nutrition in there. And then you've got to get rid of all the waste. Cells, just like your whole body's made out of cells. We eat food in our mouths and the waste goes out the other end, right? And
Yes.
if you don't have good food going in, you're not going to feel good, right? Also, if you close off and you never go to the bathroom for a long time, you will also get really sick and toxic. Same thing happens with our cells, and that's what, in a layman's term, really, really high level, basic, that's kind of what causes something called oxidative stress. Your cells start dying, and then you get inflammation, you get messy. So what happens is, I know a doctor from Baylor University in Texas, and he was a sports med doc. He's awesome. He's amazing. Did so much research. And he worked with the Olympic athletes who were runners and things. Anyhow, long story short, he did a lot of work. And they did this thing. Guys, I'm definitely not an artist. Seriously, my kids all went somewhere else to learn art. I've written 3 of these now. Okay. Here we go. This is the closest representation I can do. Okay.
You can see it.
A cell that's squashed. You have it. All my other ones didn't turn out right. So basically what happens is they did this test where they're looking at the cells inside of the cheek real time when somebody's stressed out, fearful about something, right? Stress is fear coming out, right? It's you're concerned about something, that's stress. And so what happened is they would watch a healthy cell collapse and become like this and close off. So that little cross starts crumbling because of fear. And anybody who is like a Christian and faith-filled, do not fear is in the Bible more than like anything else about fear. And so it's there for a reason, right? Obviously, God made our cells, He made our bodies, and that's what can happen. Well, what happens in fitness and health, we've switched lanes to get into this healthier state. But now what we've done is, okay, Crystal and Coach Crystal and her team, they said, do this and don't do that and do this and work out. And then we start fearing and stressing over what we're told to do. And I'm going to give you the key tip to not let that happen, because everything they share with you, they start with, your mindset, the things like this is just one more little big thing that's going to you're going to go like, oh, these are all my results. They're happening. So when you get those things to do and not do, taking all those negative thoughts, you want to take those negative thoughts and do what they tell you to do with them. But what happens if you mess up? What happens if you forget? You don't want to carry it as a new burden. So you don't want to go from this lane where you were like burdened with, oh, I compulse eat, or I stress eat, or I just love my McDonald's or whatever. You don't want to go from that bad habit to over here. Okay, I have to do it this way. I have to do everything perfect. I have to make sure it's perfect. If it's not perfect, I'm not going to get the results. That's not true. In business, we're always taught, if you are focused on perfection, you will never get it out. So it's the same thing with our health. If you focus on getting everything that is presented to you perfect, you're going to end up super stressed, and you're also not going to get results. But if you take what is given to you, you take exactly what Coach Crystal and her team gives you. And then if you say, okay, great, what's my one main thing? Okay, cool. I'm focusing on this. And if you find yourself getting anxious, oh, I just say something wrong, I just this, it's okay. It's okay. Just write it down. on a coaching call, let them know, hey, this happened. Process through how to avoid or change or whatever. And just know it's a process, but the process is the way you're going about it. Because when you switch from like stress eating to stress eating healthy, you've just carried the stress with you. And as much as you might maybe lose some weight and some inches, in the long run, the health issues that you can get from that and that same stress that you're building up, you're going to start to not feel good. And then you're going to go back to the old habit, right? Because at least you had some immediate gratification when you were doing things wrong,
exactly right.
So all you need to do it different is the minute you feel like, become very aware of yourself, your emotions. Like we all kind of know, oh, I get that feeling when I get stressed out about your kids or about work or finances or whatever it might be, or health. And what is that feeling? Become aware of that. So now as you get these new skills and these new techniques and these new ways to go about a healthier life plan with nutrition and exercise and healthy thinking, if you're in that lane and you're going down and you all of a sudden start, wait, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling the same way. I feel stressed. You've got to step back and just say, oh, what am I putting pressure on me? I use an app called it's like a fitness app where I can track my macros. And I literally, as short ago as like a year ago, I was really trying to move into something. I was working with a coach and I was doing the same thing to myself. I was literally stressing out, tracking my macros to a T. And here's the thing. You might say, well, look at Thor. I'm sorry, I just saw the new Thor, and yeah, I love Thor, the character, but actually probably the look. But you look at the very toned, very nothing, not an ounce of anything. But guess what? Do you think he monitors all that just solely? No, he's got a team.
Yes.
And so he can just say, hey, team, what do okay, here's my routine. I know for this movie, for prepping for this is what I got. Okay, here's what I got to do. So I want to encourage you that in order to switch lanes and to have progress, you got to rest in the coach and just, okay, what is this? And the minute you have that stress, that anxiety coming up, take it back to your coaching. That's why you need a coach. Like 100%. You need a coach so that you can have the same results as Thor, right? Because you're not going to end up with the body you want when you carry the stress with you, because you have these messed up cells that causes inflammation, that causes bloating, that causes, I actually went so bad as to cause myself a protein issue. It's a blood issue. It is this chemical mess up, and yeah, it was bad. It was a very unhealthy thing. Thankfully I noticed what I was doing to myself. I'm like, why did I do that to myself? And I thought, man, it's because I was stressing out. I was overly compensating to try and do all the right stuff so I could have this result. But when you do it with stress, now stress changes the physiology of your body. So even when you're doing good stuff, it's not good. It crushes your cells.
100%. I just want to recap a couple of things that you said, because it's absolutely true. Like, I train women over 40 to do fitness competitions. And although they get, like you've experienced, the macros, they get, the exact workouts, if they are stressed, they are still not going to get the result.
Right.
And everything is laid out for them to get that result. But the moment they're going through something stressful, I said, like, I'll warn them, you're not going to get the result that you want unless you take care of the stress.
Right.
And, and for those women who, you're absolutely right, where they use food as an emotional regulator when they're stressed in that original lane, they would use food, the McDonald's, the sugary things, to calm them down, to de-stress. And now they don't have that anymore. And so, when they're switching lanes, it's a completely different lane. You're absolutely right. But then, you know, pre R3, you're right. They're like, this is the way it has to be. I have to do this. And they can only do that for so long. And the moment there's a slip, the moment life happens, their
Yeah.
kid gets sick, there's a deadline they didn't meet, there, whatever it may be, boom, they revert back to the other lane.
Yeah.
And then because they're like, oh, I messed up, and now they're stressed about it, oh, I'll start again on Monday, becomes I'll start again in a week, becomes, you know what, I think next year, January 1st, I'm going to wait for that New Year's resolution. But I love that you said, no, lean on your coach, which is
Right.
why we literally have a support call. I kind of look at it like it's our version of AA, where when you slip, you feel yourself slipping, you go to this call. And this call, it's called Deepening Your Why. And we tap back into why do you want to get healthy? And a lot of the times, you're absolutely right. When women come to us, at first it's fear-based. But when we do our Deepening Your Why activity with them, we find, well, what is the joy? Like, what is it how are you going to benefit when you have more energy, when you have less pain in your joints, when all those things? We try to help find the joy, and we tap back into the joy in that call. Right. So I love that, you're reminding, our listeners, look, when you're trying to live that healthy lifestyle, be weary of, firstly, go into it knowing, show yourself some grace because it's a totally different lane.
Right.
You've probably never been able to stay on this lane for longer than 2 weeks, maybe 3 months if you're lucky. But then when you do slip, because you will, we're not perfect, lean on your coach. And I love that you said create an awareness, like, okay, I slipped. Why did that happen? And that's one of the things that we do is why? Why did I slip? What caused the slip? How can I avoid it next time? What was the lesson in that? And when I fall, not to stay down like I used to and allow, oh, it's Friday. You know what? I messed up. I'm just going to never mind the weekend. I'll just start again on Monday. Instead of that, just get right back up. Okay, you had to slip up in your lunch. Then don't let that give you permission to slip up on dinner too. Just dust yourself off. Get right back on track.
Right. And I think so many times our stress and like you say, like if it's a slip up, then we add that stress. Again, that's being in that healthy lane, but it's like making it so that I must be perfect in this lane. And that's what the analogy with Thor is his perfection for a movie. He has a team.
Yes.
A whole constantly, like, I've gone in and looked at what different people do. And I actually was a health coach for the Dallas Cowboy, some of the players. And so I know what that's like. And when they're in training season, it's way different. It's not a normal life.
No.
So when you're a normal person, you've got excellent coaches with Coach Crystal and her team. Now you have to, though, recognize I'm a normal person. I have a life and things happen. And it's okay if I make a little, I go over that line a little bit, just exactly what she was saying. Crystal was saying is just get right back on for the next one. And how do you do that without stress is you change your identity. Your identity isn't in this doing all this perfectly. Your identity is in knowing you're good with you. And that exactly what you're saying. I love it. We do the same thing with SEU, knowing your why. Yes. And you go back to that and you say, cool. And then as a believer, as a Christian, you just go back to God. I had a pastor one time say it like this, and it's a really simplified kind of summary, but it really helps me, is when we work, and I might add the word stress, God rests. When we rest, okay, we're resting in him, God can go to work, right? Because if we're trying to constantly do things and fix things ourselves, then God can't work. We have to rest in him and let him lead the way, let him show. So that'd be the last tip I'd say is, when you find yourself and you recognize that pattern and you find yourself stressed, just go back and lean on the Lord and process it with him first. God, what's going on here? Why am I feeling this way? I feel really stressed out.
Mhm.
Why am I putting so much emphasis on getting this diet and workout and everything perfect?
Yes.
And let God kind of unpack that. You're going to get so much amazing divine revelation. Then you can bring that back to your coaching calls and go, look what you're going to be used, I believe, by him to like impact the whole group. And
So
together
good.
make so much, like just resting in life. The word of the year God gave me, I always pray for a word of the year. And the word this year he gave me was rest. So it's really at the forefront of my mind because you can't have stress in rest. They do not coexist.
So good. So true. We just finished a Bible study. That's something that we offer our students, and the study was called Made to Crave God, Not Food. And so that is a beautiful summary in that, what, the anxiety, when we're turning to food to, help reduce that anxiety or to help reduce the stress, turn to God, not food,
Yes.
right? And when that stress induced, whenever, when you fall off, it's like, okay, Lord, like I'm finding this difficult. Help me, right? And then it's like you said, it's like leaning on him for strength as opposed to you trying to muscle through it.
Right.
Rest, pause, pray, have that conversation and be like, okay, how can I get back on here without the guilt, without the anxiety, without the stress?
Right. 100% agree.
So good. So good. This was awesome. I think you're absolutely right. This is the bubble. This is really, I look at it like the armor of God, right? It's like it's your armor when you are whether it's your health or anything, any type of new change or challenge. Show yourself some grace.
Right.
You're not going to be perfect, and we say at R3, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And
Right.
so we're always practicing, and that's exactly what it is. It's a practice until you develop that new identity where we call it building your get up muscle, where when you fall, because your get up muscle is strong, you get right back up.
Yeah.
So I
That's so
love that. I love that. Thank you, Kristi. Again, I am so happy. Did you know that I think you're the first person to come back a second time. So this is
How honored.
monumental. Yes, you're the first
Yes.
person to come back the second time. And this was gold. So thank you. Thank you so, so much. I hope
Absolutely.
all of you out there have found, nuggets in that. I know it was just eye-opening and so, so beautiful and awesome reminders. And I'm going to put also in the copy in the comments as well a little bit more about SEU. So if you want to learn more, again, where can they find you? And if they even want to have a chat with you, Kristi, where should they go?
Yeah, the very best place to go is SEU, as in self educate you, SEU works, WORKS.com. And then you can book a call with me. And part of, I call it a strategy call so I can kind of figure out where you're at, what's going on, and where we need to go. I don't do a lot of just health coaching right now, though. When God brings somebody my way, and if it's like, oh, I really need this help, I let him lead that. But we are really gearing up and expanding and scaling the SEU program. But what's kind of cool about it is, so we equip parents, I help faith-driven parents shortcut their kids' success through accelerated self-education without public, private, or homeschooling. And one of the components in that is, I call it holistic health. So every week there's a health coaching call on there. And when we do our onboarding with every family, I find out the mom and dads and all the kids' potential or ongoing or current health issues. So we make sure to address those. And I have been known to send messages and stuff when I know, like I've got one little girl from a family who's having surgery today. So I just send a few things that I know will transform her recovery. And it's just because it's my passion. It's what I self-educated into the PhD, and now I'm working heavy into that. And so I know time is money. and time is health. And if you can connect dots really fast for people, that can transform their health and their educational journey. So that's why it's all combined in one now.
100%. Please, if you've been inspired by Kristi, book that call. Book that call. You have nothing to lose, but she's so, so well versed. And whether it's for your kids or even she's open to that, having that conversation with health, please give her a call. So thank you once again, Kristi. This was amazing. You are godsend, and I truly believe you're being used, and you are such a blessing. Thank you for all of your pearls of wisdom that you shared today. And I know that you've touched a lot of our listeners' lives. So thank you for being my first guest. Come back twice, part two-er. So this has definitely been an awesome show. So thank you.
I appreciate it. I feel very honored, such an honor and joy to just get to know you. Love what you're doing. Keep doing all the amazing work. And I just want to encourage anybody who wants to make those lifestyle changes and those health and fitness changes, you got to get in with Coach Crystal. I mean, your heart is just that's why you have results. I keep seeing all the results coming through on social media and everything. And I got to know Crystal and her husband so well, and her team. Man, I've never met a team that does health coaching like y'all do. So it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. Until next time, we'll see you on the Get Crystallized show. Have an amazing day, everyone. Thank you.